Right, so this is the Pixel 9a and this is the iPhone 16e. Google's new budget-friendly offering at $499, Apple's new budget-friendly offering at $599. First point goes to Google. But does it end that way as we compare these two phones? Now, for reference, I've been using the iPhone 16e for the last few months, and I know its strong points, but I also know some of the weaknesses. The question is, what are the Pixel 9a's in comparison, and which should you choose? Age-old impossible debate, right? iPhone versus Android. And people will 9 times out of 10 get so fixated on being on one side or the other of the fence that neither side will actually be willing to budge or concede on any of the supposed advantages and disadvantages. You'll see this play out in the comments below this video, I'm sure. But here's what we're going to do. I'm going to break it down into some key categories that are as objective as humanly possible, but I've also done it in a way that will naturally still have some personal subjective elements that means you can probably tally this for yourself too, and definitely let me know in the comments how you finish up with the scores. If you do want to help this channel and pump this video out to more people to hopefully help them, then a like and subscribe would be much appreciated for that old YouTube algorithm. So, performance. And this is an area that I have noticed the 16e has been next to flawless since I unboxed it pretty much. It is and has pretty much always been one of the key pillars of the budget iPhone. Some areas leave a little bit to be desired, but performance is always the latest and greatest pretty much that Apple offer. Even with the older 2020 SE model, which was laughable really in a few areas, had brilliant performance, matching the flagship iPhone 11 Pro's A13 Bionic. But the Pixel 9a Auto? I've been looking at cars. It's not an automotive. The 9a also uses the latest and greatest Google have to offer with the inclusion of the Tensor G4 chip from the Pixel 9 Pro. Now, for the every person, is this powerful enough? Yes, in fact, unless you're a big tech head, the difference here will absolutely not register in the slightest. And I really mean that. They're both really, really powerful, but this is a head-to-head after all, so in the cold light of day, and talking straight numbers, the iPhone wins. But raw performance only takes you so far. And due to Apple's unwavering decision not to upgrade the refresh rates on the less premium models, the 16e with its 60Hz display in 2025, still feels pretty laggy in comparison to Google's 120Hz display. And I'm not being dramatic, it's not just a specs thing, this is real world use, something you actually feel. If you pick these two up side by side, the Pixel, nearly dropped it, the Pixel 9a with its less powerful chip feels more snappy to use. That's really how important this feature is. If given the choice between a more powerful chip but a lower refresh rate compared to a less powerful chip but a higher refresh rate, I would choose the latter every day of the week. The Pixel 9a is refreshing twice as fast as the iPhone, which feels jittery and juddery. The Pixel 9a screen is also larger and brighter, doesn't have a notch. Both do use OLED technology, but simply by the fact that we do have the 120Hz, it's a clear win for the Pixel when it comes to display. It's probably actually the main thing I've struggled with since I've had the 16e, even more so than the solitary camera. And that's because, on the whole, it's a very solid single lens offering. It's basically the same 48 megapixel sensor as on the more expensive iPhone models and has the equivalent of a 2x optical zoom quality for the soccer mums out there, the teenagers, again the non-nerdy normal people. I've got to be careful not to call us lot that are interested in tech not normal. But you know what I mean. The average person on the street, people that don't need all the customization of an ultra-wide angle lens, super zooms, for example. It takes really good standard photos. But the Pixel 9a also does, with its own 48 megapixel sensor, and it does have that additional ultra-wide angle lens. Neither has incredible zoom, the iPhone probably just shading it, pun intended. The shade, no. But the Pixel 9a, in my experience, also works slightly better in low light and in macro mode too. So for me, the Pixel 9a just does more overall in the camera department. And just think the colour reproduction is more pleasing to me personally, Apple continuing to oversaturate the red hues, especially in sunlight. But that's photos. What about video? Well, there's no secret that iPhones have produced some of, if not the best video capabilities of any smartphone for many years, and there's no letting up. The 16.9e might not have the bells and whistles of its more expensive siblings like cinematic or action modes, but image quality, stabilization, consistency of the 16e is ahead of the Pixel 9a. I'd probably use the Pixel for photos and the iPhone for video. The illusion of YouTube. But what about the customization versus ease of use argument? Because while a lot of this can be looked at objectively, this outcome will be personal preference, because you'll either fit into one of two camps. Do you want to be able to set up and operate your phone just the way you like, or do you want something unflustered, uncomplicated, and to be shown and told how everything should work? And that is a very, very simplified explanation of Android versus iOS, quite frankly. There was a big song and dance from Apple fans when iOS 18 dropped that you could rearrange and customize app icons with new sizes, colors, tints, and labels, and add widgets and adjust the layout of your home screen. But this has, as well documented, pretty much always been a thing on Android. But on top of that, there is just so much more that you can do and get out of your device running it exactly how you want. It can be so individual. No two Android phones will look the same, whereas the iPhone remains a very locked-in experience, and 9 times out of 10 they'll all look almost identical. On the flip side of this, if you think, I don't really care about all of that, just let me ring people and use Instagram, etc., snap a few pictures, then the iPhone 16e's experience is probably the better choice. And I think you would be surprised, outside of the tech bubble that generally watch these kind of videos, most people don't actually care about a lot of this nerdy stuff. They're just so different in terms of software, and no one experience is necessarily better than the other. And anyone who says that, in my opinion, is showing a clear subjective bias. So objectively, because they are so different, you have to score it as a draw. However, there is no real bias to say that the ecosystem is better on the iPhone. It's one of Apple's biggest draws. So if you own or are looking to own a MacBook, an iPad, an iMac, AirPods, Apple Watch, the seamless nature of connection between is just unparalleled. You do have more freedom of different products to pair with on the Android side, with multiple headphone, laptop, tablet manufacturers, which is a plus. More choice, but because they are all from different manufacturers, they can't possibly talk to each other quite as sweetly. And it doesn't just stop there. Whenever you see a new piece of mainstream tech launching that can be accessed or integrated with a phone or an app, it's almost unheard of that an iPhone won't be compatible, or there won't be an app for it. Mainly because once you get something working on one iPhone, it's effectively working on pretty much all iPhones. Rightly or wrongly, you simply can't say the same for Android due to the sheer amount of brands, softwares, and form factors that are out there. It's a lot more work for manufacturers to guarantee that compatibility. So the iPhone 16e for ecosystem has to win, really. But are things the same for AI? Well, in short, no. But in long, still no. Let me explain. So a lot was made about Apple Intelligence when it launched. But in reality, currently, and I emphasize currently because this can change at any moment with a new update, but at this moment in time, Google's Gemini is far more advanced. Whether that's photo eraser tools or recipe lookups or anything you can think of that uses AI really is just more complete and more advanced and more retail ready feeling on the Pixel 9a. It's just more helpful. And the battery is also marginally more helpful too. Google claim 30 hours compared to Apple's 26 hours. And while this is hugely dependent on how you use your phone, in my experience, this minor advantage for the Pixel 9a does run true. The Android device does have a larger battery cell over the iPhone, and it's a significant jump from the previous 8A, get it right. But then there's the optimization of the A18 chip, which does kind of even things out fairly significantly. so it's very tight and both batteries are very good. But if you set the Pixel 9a to 60Hz too, and then you factor in the slightly faster charging, 23 watts to the 20, I'd say by a hair's breadth, the Pixel 9a wins here. And then there's design and build quality, and as much as I am a fan of the completely flat camera rig on the 9a, outside of the display notch, I just think the 16e looks slightly more premium, it's cleaner, and the Pixel already has the 0.4 display, so I'm not going to downgrade the iPhone again on that. Plus you have the plastic back on the Pixel, design and build quality goes to the 16e. So what this has shown me is, as standalone devices, if every category was weighted equally, the Pixel 9a is a better device. The trouble is, not every category is weighted the same. Performance, for example, might be your main importance, or ease of use, or ecosystem, or just being possibly slightly more consistent using even things like social media. Either way, this also proves that Google have done a great job with the Pixel 9a, and the fact they brought it in cheaper than the iPhone 16e is real testament. Two excellent budget-friendly options from two of the biggest tech brands in tech. That doesn't make sense. Not two of the biggest tech brands in tech. Where else would the tech brands be? In fashion? Two of the biggest tech brands in fashion. The question is, which would you choose?